Your engine is running. You can hear it, and the panel is showing M0613, engine speed, no signal. That's factory wording on the Bobcat S185. The controller can't see the engine turning while it's turning. There are 5 M06 codes on this machine, and every one of them is about a single number. How fast the controller thinks your engine is spinning. Get that number wrong and everything downstream goes strange. So, all 5 what the factory book actually says and the checks that isolate each one. And one of them isn't really a fault at all. It's a receipt. That one comes later. Start with where the number comes from, because none of the 5 makes sense until you know. The controller never watches your engine. It watches a sensor, and that sensor watches the flywheel. Teeth pass the sensor makes pulses, the controller counts pulses and calls that engine speed. So the machine doesn't actually know engine speed. It knows a pulse count. Those aren't the same thing. A factory troubleshooting list says it plainly: check flywheel, RPM, sensor, and wiring. Sensor and wiring. Named together because the sensor gets blamed for the wiring sins constantly. Before you chase anything, learn how this panel talks, or you'll destroy your own evidence. The display panel lists codes on their own screen. If there's more than one, they scroll. They take turns. You have to stand there and watch a full cycle before you know what you got. And here's the part that quietly costs people an entire afternoon of guessing. As new codes come in, the oldest one disappears. The newest one moves into the number 1 slot. So the code that started your problem can fall off the list while you're walking to the machine. Write them all down first, every one in order before you cycle the key. That's the whole trick. Now the codes themselves will rank the causes the way you should chase them. Cheapest first. M0613 is worded engine speed, no signal. No signal. Not a wrong number, nothing arriving at all. The controller is asking the flywheel sensor a question and getting silence back. Silence has cheap causes and expensive ones, and almost nobody checks the cheap ones first. Cheapest, a connector that isn't truly locked. It clicked in your head, not in your hand. The manual's own list puts that near the top. Make sure the controller connectors are locked in. Next cheapest, a pin pushed back inside the connector or bent just enough to miss its mate. That pin looks perfect from outside. The housing seats, the latch clicks, the metal never touches. Then the fuse holder. Loose spade connectors in there are on the factory checklist, too. Then grounds. Corroded or loose grounds cause strange symptoms all over this machine, not just here. The book is blunt about it. Check grounds and positive leads before you believe any weird symptom. Only then the sensor, and only after the sensor, the controller. That's the whole ladder. Notice the first 4 rungs cost nothing but your time. Start there and stay there a while. Now flip it. What if a signal is arriving, but the number itself is nonsense? That's M0618, engine speed out of range. Something showed up. It just wasn't believable. Like a fuel gauge reading a quarter past full. Technically a number, obviously not a real one. The controller expects that reading to live inside a window, and this one landed outside it. The manual lists the window. I'm not going to guess a figure at you. Look yours up. Out of range usually walks you right back down the same signal path. Noise, resistance, a marginal joint. Except now, the wiggle matters because a connection that's only sometimes bad reads as garbage. Then comes the pair that actually scares people, and honestly it should. M061 is the factory's engine speed high. The counted number crossed a line the controller was watching. Above it sits a second code, worded extremely high, same measurement further past the limit. That one's M611, and the escalation in wording is the message. The book is grading severity. But here's where it flips. 2 completely different problems produce the exact same high reading. 1, the engine genuinely is overspeeding. That's mechanical, that's serious, and that's the expensive branch. 2, the engine is fine and the count is lying. Extra pulses, noise, a sensor reading trash. Same code on the panel. Opposite repairs in the shop, and nothing on that screen tells you which. A code names the symptom. It never names the part. Write that inside the cab door. Which brings us to the 5th one, and the reason I called it a receipt early. M0615, the factory description is 3 words, engine speed shutdown. That's the entire entry. 3 words, because it isn't advice, it's the machine reporting something that already happened. By the time you read it, the event is over. You're looking at the ending, not the cause. And remember how the newest code takes the top slot? Shutdown is newest. The cause is underneath it. So don't diagnose shutdown. Diagnose whatever code was sitting below it in that scroll. If that just changed how you'd read your own panel, that's exactly what this channel is for. Stick around. Now, the mistake that looks like cleverness, right up until it costs you a part. You've noticed the shape by now. A high, an extremely high, an out of range, a shutdown. and other families on this machine seem to follow a similar shape. Charge pressure, oil temperature, coolant temperature. So people build a legend in their head. These 2 digits always mean this, those always mean. Don't. The factory table publishes meanings, not a legend, and code systems change between machine generations. A number that means one thing on this S185 can mean something else on the machine parked beside it. That's how somebody ends up ordering a part off a pattern they invented from 3 codes they'd seen. The pattern held for 3, it didn't hold for the 4th. The part arrived and fixed nothing. Look every code up. The table is the authority. The shape of the number is a coincidence. All right, you've got an M06 code and you want it isolated, not guessed at. Here's the order. Safety first, and this isn't filler. The manual repeats it on nearly every page of this section. Shut the engine down. Lower the lift arms. Nothing gets adjusted while things are alive and moving. Bobcat's own wording, these adjustments and repairs are for authorized service personnel. Past the connectors, that's them. First, rounds and positive leads. Clean, tight, no green. Free, and it clears more faults than it should. Second, every connector in the path. Unlock it, look inside, reseat it, and feel it lock. Third, pins. Hunt for one sitting lower than its neighbors, or leaning a few degrees off. Fourth, the fuse holder. Spade connectors specifically. They back out slowly, and nobody ever looks there. Fifth, the flywheel sensor and its wiring. The 2 things the manual names in a single breath. Sixth, the panel itself, because the panel shows 2 words that look like faults and aren't. If it reads reply, one or both instrument panels aren't communicating with the controller. Not an engine problem. At that point, your M06 code might be a rumor the panel can no longer confirm. And if it reads code, the controller is simply asking for a password. Nothing is broken at all. Here's the payoff. All 5 M06 codes are 1 sentence at different volumes. The pulse count isn't right. So chase the path before the part. Grounds, connectors, pins, then the sensor. Parts come last, always. Subscribe if you run these machines. Next up is the hydraulic charge pressure family, and that one bites. The exact specs are in the service manual linked below. Like this, if it saved you a guess.